Hello, welcome to Wilco Whites. I'm Sean. Yes, I'm sat in my car. I've just finished work. It is now 3:30 in the morning and news coming out. Daniel Farke is going to be sacked, or if you're watching this video later in the day, he may have already been sacked. It's all over the socials. Group chats are going off. There's no smoke without fire. I'm quite impressed with the 49ers if this happens now. It does show that they have got a bit of a ruthless streak in them, a ruthless side that we need, which we were worried about. We thought we were just going to drag it on. It was given the Villa game, and yeah, okay, I can understand that, you know, a point per game, but now we've just dropped below that, you know, played 12-11 points. Time to go. I've had my doubts about Daniel Farke in the Premier League since last season. You know, I could see certain games where he made some questionable decisions. Can't say it hasn't been good for 2 seasons. It has. It's been fantastic. You know, we've won a lot of games. We've, in the Championship, a lot of points, a lot of goals. It's been good, but there were always that worry in the Premier League with Daniel Farke not having the best of records, that he would struggle, and it's coming to fruition. We've seen it, and you know, we are saying things that the Norwich City fans said. The questions asked about Daniel Farke, the Norwich City fans asked it when the same questions when they was in the Premier League, and it was always my worry. It's not just on him. We've bought poorly. You know, there's got to be questions asked about the recruitment, and there is. Is there going to be a change there? I'd like to see that as well. You know, the 49ers have been ruthless up in Scotland with Rangers. They've had an overhaul there in management and backroom staff and you know, the recruitment side, the people that make the big decisions. They've made mistakes this season. You know, we've blown 100 million. You know, we've pissed it up against the wall, basically, on poor recruitment. Can another manager get a better tune out of these players? I believe so, massively, because I think we saw against Villa, especially the first half, and we've seen in games this season, you know, we can match teams, we can match certain teams, but the in-game management is so off. You know, if a Sean Dyche is doing you over tactically, then massive questions have got to be asked about Daniel Farke. And it's his stubbornness. And he sticks by his favourite players when he's got good players sitting on the bench. I mean, I looked at that bench against Villa and I thought we had a great bench. You know, we've got Tanaka, Nonto, Pirro, Dan James, Bijol, even Gruev. They're all international players, most of them. You know, you take out Pirro, you know, Willie Nonto, Italian, international, he has done. Dan James, we know, Wales. Tanaka, Japan. Gruev, Bulgaria. Bijal, you know, he had a great game for his country. And these players are sat on the bench. And listen, again, we were good against Villa first half. We battled, and that's what we want to see from a Leeds United side. But we need that bit of creativity. And Daniel Farke don't like it. He doesn't seem to like creative players. We've got Tanaka. He's one of the best creative players we've got. It's, you know, and he proved it when he came on. You know, he came on for Stack when he got injured, and he was the best player on the pitch, and he gets pulled off, and it was tactical apparently. Oh no, it wasn't tactical. It was because the fourth official said if he makes another tackle, he's going to get sent off. Just have a word with him then. Get your captain Ampadu to have a word with him. And it ain't just us that are saying he's a good player. The commentators were saying how good he was. You know, we've had Declan Rice come out at the beginning of the season saying how, you know, he's an utter admirer of Tanaka, and this guy don't get a look in. Farke stifles players. We need to be letting certain players off the leash in certain games. There's games to do it and there's games isn't. You know, going for a draw, because I still believe he tried to play for a draw against Nottingham Forest, is poor. He was happy to sit on a 1-0 lead against Villa, which is, again, poor for me, because they came out second half, made 2 substitutions, Emre showing his quality as a Premier League manager, and they scored straight away. And Daniel Farke wasn't even there. He was still down the tunnel. Poor, again. I don't want to talk too much about Brendan Aronson, but I think that some of the things Farke's come out in the press regarding the fans has been too passionate. You know, okay, sticking up for Brendan Aronson, I think that's a deflection, basically. You know, when you've got fans running on the field and confronting you, telling you to make changes, we could all see it. I didn't go to the game, but even I was sat at home, 55th minute. We need James Nonto on, because it wasn't good enough. And if we can see it as fans, and the rest of the crowd at Ellen Road could see it, and the chanting for substitutions, why can't he see it? And it is stubbornness. And I've said it before, his stubbornness will get him the sack, and you live and die by the sword. And I'm sorry, Daniel Farke, but it just doesn't work. I'm hoping now the 49ers bring in the right guy. Bo Svensson has been linked, which I'm quite keen on. Brendan Rodgers, another name who's hotly tipped, and which I'm not so keen on, but he's Premier League experience. Will he do well for us as a you know, a relegation battling team? Yes, I think he could. You know, he's done well up in Scotland for Celtic, and you know, I looked a bit about him, and he does like possession football, but he does like to have creative players. He likes to have a creative player in midfield. You've got one there in Tanaka. He likes to press high up the field, which might suit Brendan Aronson a lot better. You know, he likes to have attacking wingers. Does that mean then we might see the return of Ramazan in January? Possibly. Will we see more of Willie Gnonto? And I know Willie Gnonto's been injured, but even when he wasn't injured, he didn't fancy him. He didn't fancy playing him, didn't Farke? He stuck to Brendan Aronson and Okafor. Okafor, for me, hasn't shown the qualities what I was expecting. Again, is that down to a number of factors? Is he still getting used to the Premier League? Is it Daniel Farke stifling him a little bit, not allowing these players to go and express themselves as much as they want to? I think there's something in that. Would a new manager with fresh ideas allow them to do that? I believe so. We could all see it when Dan James came on. You know, his pacing behind. That's what it needed. It's what it needed. And again, I'm not going to bash Brendan Aronson. I actually think he's had a decent season. He does work really hard. You know, we questioned him, you know, dropping to the floor a lot in the Championship, where you didn't get the fouls. You get him in the Premier League. You know, he made the run and got fouled for our goal, for Longstaff to put that ball in from the free kick. So there's pros and cons to him. I actually do think he's quite decent on the ball when he wants to be. You know, we saw that mazy run he did. I can't remember who that was against now, but that mazy run he did, it was fantastic. But you can see it needs something different. You know, maybe he'd be better as an impact player. Maybe, I don't know. But we need something different. You know, Bijol with a scapegoat again against Villa. Pascal Struijk coming in. We still consider a very similar goal to what we've been conceding from that left-hand side. So I do not believe it's on Bijol. I think we've got a good defender in Bijol who does probably fit and suit a back three better. Does a Bo Svensson, who does play sometimes with a back three, like to do that? You know, is it, sorry, not like to do that, but like to a Bijol in his team. So it needed changing, and again, thanks for the memories, Daniel Farke, but your stubbornness has done you, and I'm sick of it, and a lot of the fans are sick of it. You know, the players you've had in the past as well, whoever you have stifled, like Rutter, you know, you wanted to stifle him. You know, we see players come in, like Jed Spence, who's now playing for England. You just didn't fancy him, really. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but everybody makes mistakes. It don't mean they're a bad player. He got shipped out. Poor Ramazani, like I've touched on, hopefully he can come back. I don't know why. I thought he's done really well when he came last season when he played for us in small parts. Never got a run. Then Willie Gnonto never got a run. You talk about players' values. Some of these players' values are dropping because they're not being used, and the 49ers will see that. We've got Joel Perreault as top goal scorer last season, not being given a chance. I'm not saying he'd suit playing one up top. Well, then you go two up top, or you put him in a three up top, or fit him in somewhere rather than the 10. Elan Melier. You know, it looks like he's going to go on a free end at season because we've held on to him too long. I'm not saying that's just down to Daniel Farke, but he refused to drop him last season when we were crying out for Darlow to come in, and I still believe something was said in his ear by Parag that made him do it, and that's stubbornness again. And again, we've held on to these players too long. Jack Harrison, who we could have sold for 25 million to Leicester, is now worth 25p. You know, we're going to struggle to get rid of these players. Bamford should have gone a couple of years ago when his stock were fairly high and we could cash in on these players. So we've lost value on some of these players, and I think the 49ers can see that. It's a bit of a theme. You could say that about Tanaka. You know, these players who he doesn't really want to play, or, you know, he's playing them and then bringing them off, or any excuse to take them off, the value's going to drop. Willie Gnonto, what's he probably worth now? I mean, he was touted at 25 million at one point, going to Everton. Not now, I don't think, because he never plays. Charlie Cresswell, which we've all talked about, 3.5 million he went for. Being linked back to Premier League for 15 million. England under 21 international. Had a fallout. No way back. That's not right. You know, especially with young guys. You've got to put your arm around the shoulder. Show them you want them. You know, you were given the number 5 shirt, giving him false hope, and then never played him. Disappointing, Farke. But that's going over old things, and we've got to move forward. And you know, the 49ers will have been under pressure by the shareholders. There's a lot of money being invested in Leeds from these shareholders. We've got a new stadium build, you know, the plans going through, and it's all geared for Premier League football. So I don't want to hear all about this keep Farke, because when we get relegated, he's best man to get us back up. No, we need best man now to keep us in Premier League, and I hope the 49ers make the right decision and the right, you know, bring the right guy in. So that's where I am with that, guys. I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers.